I give away free Steam games with every major video I do, and here's who won this week. The games available to receive are listed below. To enter, just leave a comment and have contact information on your profile. And now, on with the video. I'm playing something almost every week, and sometimes I want to talk about it and give you a vertical slice. So stick with me for some lightning reviews. This week, on the chopping block. This week I've been playing my Steam Deck. No, really, after I finished my review, I started making good on that promise to do a 100% playthrough of Final Fantasy X, and so far I've probably put in about 20 hours just into playing Blitzball. But in between that, I've been trying out other things, and if we go back a couple weeks to my Iron Lung review, I was fairly pleased with and started to look deeper into the game's solo developer, David Szymanski. It turns out he's been doing quite a few things, and now I have a name on the list of creators that I'm going to follow when I'm looking for something to interest me. One game that I saw that was fully compatible with the Steam Deck was Chop Goblin, which I downloaded and started plugging away on in bed one night. David was actually asking for more people to review it on Steam because exactly 1,488 positive reviews had been received, and didn't want it to be associated with such a dog-whistling number. For those that are unaware, it has to do with anti-Semitism. It has since received plenty more positive reviews, but I decided I wanted to contribute, but had to wait until I at least played it for myself before I genuinely posted. Chop Goblins is a boomer shooter. You know, a first-person shooter emphasizing fast-paced action, usually containing a retro aesthetic along with health, ammo, and weapon pickups, and an emphasis on movement for defense. I occasionally indulge in boomer shooters, but the last one I played was when Limited Run ported Quake to the PS4. I was never big into first-person shooters back in the day, and the first one I ever played was GoldenEye 64, and I'm not certain you can call that one a boomer shooter. I'm beginning to notice some recurring tendencies among Szymanski's games. An aesthetic reminiscent of Quake 2, the relaying of narrative through static text boxes, and an uncanny ability to have prominently appealing sound design. I mean, if you can get me amused enough to have my mouse cursor bop to the opening screen's music score, I'm usually going to be looking forward to whatever comes afterwards. Speaking to which, after the obligatory text box opening, you're dropped into a museum where you have seemingly unleashed the Chop Goblins upon the world after opening a mysterious chest, and you're now personally tasked to returning them to whence they came. The game starts with you picking up a dagger as your alt fire and having you melee enemies down, but then you find a flintlock pistol, and this is where the boomstick brawling begins. The Chop Goblins are only able to attack with meat cleavers or axes, which variants can regenerate and throw. Interestingly, there's a mechanic where you can use your dagger to knock them out of the air or repel them back at opponents. A mechanic I experimented briefly with at the beginning, but had some difficulty locking down the timing, so I just didn't bother and moved on. The game has a bit of an undercurrent of humor going about it, with the goblins donning high-pitched voices with finger quotes wacky lines, although I did appreciate their good manners when I would find a new group to approach and subsequently turn into giblets. Chop giblets, if you will.
Hello, nice to meet you!
I also couldn't help but laugh at the Dracula boss that seemed to be singing an introductory opera as you're shotgunning him in the face. For me, Chop Goblins was a raucous good time, but it only lasted about an hour and a half. It certainly made it so it didn't outstay its welcome, but it comes into the same dilemma of Iron Lung where someone might not be willing to give it the time of day if it can't engage them for at least 3 to 4 hours. But I fall back onto the argument of even if it's short, if you're having fun and are engaged, it's worth it, especially for about $5. Another more salient criticism that I would have for Mr. Szymanski's games would follow as such. Please allow it so that you don't have to exit out and go back to the main menu to change your settings. That's another thing that seems to be consistent between Iron Lung and Chop Goblins. Now, if you want to give this particular developer's style a chance, but are hesitant to drop any money on what are admittedly short experiences, you could also try his atmospheric horror game Fingerbones, a free download that you can beat within a half hour. Again, we see the same retro aesthetic, but this one significantly slows down your movement, and there's no combat or inventory management to speak of. It's essentially a 3 to 4 room walking simulator. The sound design was a little bit less refined, but still enough to get me absorbed, and the puzzles, while a little bit obscure at times, ensure to need to pay attention. It is admittedly hard to tell, though, when you've made progress due to certain sound cues or a lack of validation when you're successfully figuring things out. Being an atmospheric horror tale that takes less time than the average fast food delivery, I'm not going to go into any spoilers or indeed many story details at all. Just play it for yourself. Like I said, it's free. Now, if you'll excuse me, I may have one more quick hardware review in me as a bonus video between me playing Blitzball for hours on end. Hey, look at that, it's the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and remember that commenting can actually win you a free prize. So until next time, this is Gheeotine saying thanks for watching and keep your head on your shoulders.